Hello, welcome to my studio. Today I want to show you what I do whenever I'm feeling not really inspired and when I want to create, when I want to use my art supplies, but I don't have like anything in mind and I'm struggling to create. What I tend to do is use my sketchbook, and this is one of the reasons I love working in a sketchbook, because there is no pressure to create something good or something great or even something beautiful. This is a place where I can create for the sake of creating without having anything in mind. So I really love working with color. I think color is one of my biggest inspirations. What I do is that I pick up a couple of colors that I really enjoy and I start creating shapes. And that is what this page and the next page I'm going to show you is all about. It's about playing. It's about seeing how the paint reacts with one another. I usually work with acrylic paint. There are many different kinds of and textures of acrylic. So right now I have already used watered down heavy body acrylic paint and acrylic ink. Right now that teal color that you see me mixing and applying to the page is a high flow or a fluid acrylic. But most of the time I water down my acrylic paint, my heavy body or medium body acrylic paint. I add a lot of water to get that same, it's not the same, it's a similar texture than the high flow acrylics or the ink. And I really love seeing how they mix, seeing how these random things happen, how a new mark is created when I put a paint, a really flowy paint next to another one. So this is a little similar to work with watercolors when you're looking for those mixtures, when the paint mixes, the watercolor mixes directly on the page, and that's what I want here. I could be working with watercolors, but I prefer acrylic paint. I think it's really a preference. So after I created a couple of shapes, now I'm adding lines. I realized that if I take my brush or a smaller brush and use the tip, and I can create some really interesting lines. And when I say interesting lines, for me, that means that the line has different colors in it. It also has different thicknesses, so it can start like really thin and then get more thick as it goes along. And when I touch a little bit of another paint, they will mix and create a really random and unexpected color and mark. At this moment, I'm not thinking. I'm really not thinking about composition or about if things are going okay. I'm really enjoying the materials. I'm enjoying that if my purple color mixes with the teal, it will create a new color and it will create a mark that is, as I already said, it's random. So I repeat the same shape or the same line over and over again. So I have circles, I have arches, and that's what I keep doing all along the page. And introducing new colors and seeing what happens when I put them together, or if, like I'm doing here, if I drop a tiny little bit of this color on top of something that is wet, what will happen? How will that paint react? I decided to work with these colors because I really enjoy how they look together. And one of the reasons that I think they work is because they're near each other in the color wheel, which means that they are analogous. So the blues and the purple and the magenta work really well together, even if some are lighter and others are darker. I will get like a good color scheme. Also, you will see that if I mix the magenta and the really dark blue, I will get another violet, and it's kind of similar to the violet, much darker, as you can see here, but it's on the same range as the violet that I poured directly from my acrylic tube. So all these colors work together and they create interesting colors if I mix them. All of them are going to work well together. So if you ever want to create something similar like this, think about that. Think about colors that when you mix, or when they get mixed in your page, they're going to create an interesting new color. When I look at this page, I can see that I'm repeating myself over and over again, creating the same marks, creating the same lines, or pretty similar lines. But I think that each time that I create a mark, I'm trying to see what happens. If I can create it a little bit different, maybe thinner, maybe thicker, maybe add more water, trying to create a new color out of the colors that I already have in my palette. And I'm not judging my page. I'm not thinking this is a great page, this is the most beautiful or the ugliest thing I have ever done. I'm feeling myself. I'm trying to understand how I'm feeling, what of the marks that I'm adding to my page I'm enjoying the most, what is catching my eye. Are the lines that are thicker more interesting to me than the thinner lines, or changing the color of the same line is more interesting than having a line that it's all the same color? And seeing it now, what I can see is one of the things that I enjoy the most are those big, bold shapes that I created at first. I love seeing how those colors are interacting with each other. And for me, this is a really successful page. And that is not because the colors go well with each other or because I like the textures that I got. It's because I got to play with my art supplies. I got to do something to calm myself down. I was feeling pretty anxious. I'm not feeling lately. I haven't been feeling like the most productive or creative person. So doing this helps me with my anxiety. It helps me create something without really having the big pressure of creating something nice. Here I feel that I'm playing. I don't have anything in mind. I don't have like a deadline. I'm creating because I want to create, because I want to use my art supplies. So that is why this is a successful page for me, because I got to play. I got to try things out and see how the colors mix with each other, how I can create different lines. And maybe even if I didn't learn anything, I got a lot of energy out of me. So that is successful for me. I would suggest if you ever feel like you are not being creative, you're not feeling that motivation to create something, to play in your sketchbook and start adding color. Pick up a couple of colors that you enjoy and start making marks. There is no need to create anything in particular. The other thing is, this is just for me. You're seeing this because I chose to show you, but otherwise this would be locked up in my sketchbook. And there's no need to show it to anyone, especially when it's about getting all this, about moving my hands and getting out all this anxiety. I think those pages, which I have a lot of them in my sketchbooks, are doing a service for me, and that is what they are for, to help me with my anxiety and my anxiousness. And this is a great page in that perspective. I will continue adding marks to my page until I feel calm, where I know my page is done, when my brain is quieter, when I feel calmer. That for me is the moment that I know I have to stop. But if for whatever reason, after all this play, because this has been playing, after all of this, I still feel restless, I can start another page. And one of the reasons I like to have a couple of sketchbooks going at the same time, it's exactly because of this. Because I use a lot of water, so everything is really wet, and I cannot close my sketchbook and start a new page. So I go to a new sketchbook, another sketchbook that I'm working at the same time, and I start the process over. I might change my colors if I'm feeling like a little bit tired of the colors, but most of the times when I start a new page, I start it with the same colors I've been using, because I don't want to think. I want to put paint to paper. I wanted to show you this process in real time, not making it faster, because I think it's important that you see that I never stop. I keep adding things without thinking, without giving it too much thought. I really don't care if this page ends up looking good or bad. Those are not things that I have in mind. I want to create something that has interesting textures for me, I want to have colors that I enjoy working with and colors that I like. I might even surprise myself with some colors that are created while the paints mix with each other. I don't have a plan, and that makes everything more interesting for me, at least in this case, because whatever happens is new. Maybe when I'm a little bit farther along, like I think we're near the end, I start looking at my page differently. I start seeing or looking if there are things that are needed. Maybe there's not enough contrast, maybe there are places that I want to make darker, or that I want them to be more defined. So I take my paintbrush and start going over those places. But I'm still playing. I don't want this to become something that is very thought out. I want to still play, and I want to surprise myself. I want the paint to show me something that I didn't thought about and that wasn't planned. I really love those random moments where something happens that I wasn't expecting. I decided to create a violet that has more of the magenta than the violet I had on my color palette. And I want to see how that specific color, now that it has more magenta, will work on top of the magenta. Because I personally really enjoy that combination of a lighter and a darker tone of the same hue. So using a teal with a darker teal or a darker blue, a magenta with a darker magenta, I find that really beautiful. So that was one of the things that I was doing, seeing how that would look. So be open to experiment with any of the elements that you have already on your page. Be open to make bold decisions and to be surprised by what you already have on the page, and learn from what you already have there. Now I'm going to try something completely different, because I feel that I'm done using these colors, the magenta, teal, and blue. I'm going to introduce a new color, and this is a gold green. And if you remember, when I started this page, there was a drop of a very similar color to this in my page. And I think now was the time, like a final touch, to add this color and see how everything changes. And I know that this color is going to work because it's analogous, at least to the teal and the blue. And it adds a lot of interest and adds a lot of light. I knew it would work, but I really wasn't expecting that it would work this well. It adds a lot of vitality. So I'm basically done with this page. And next I want to show you how I continue with another page. But this time I'm going to make it really quick. It's going to be very fast, but you're going to see how I create something really similar. And this is done in another sketchbook. My sketchbooks have different types of papers. So this paper is not made for watery or really watered down paint. And I really don't care. I want to see what happens. I wanted to paint, so I started painting. And I'm using the same techniques, repeating the same shapes and lines that I created, and I'm trying out colors and seeing how they mix with each other. And because the texture on this paper is not made for this, the paint is going to flow very differently. So that's it. I will continue adding marks to this page, but this is basically my video for you. I really hope you enjoy it. I would love to know if you find it useful or inspiring. I would love it to be inspiring to you and that you end up creating something in your sketchbook. I love my sketchbooks. I love working on them. I think they are the perfect place to let go, try things out, and not have to worry if the things that you try out work. If they don't work, that's perfectly fine. Nobody's going to see it anyway, unless you decide to show it to the world like I'm doing right here. But it's perfect because if you don't want to anybody to see it, you just don't show your sketchbook and that's it. But having it as a place to develop yourself, to experiment, will really add to your creative practice. I don't know if my creative practice would be what it is if I didn't have a place to try things out. And the other thing is, when I talk about sketchbooks, I talk about these books that I create myself. But maybe a sketchbook for you doesn't need to be a bound book. A sketchbook could be a couple of pages or a lot of pages that you have in a specific page, in a specific place. So give yourself the chance to try things out and to play with your materials. And whenever you're not feeling up to creating something specific, how about adding paint to paper? So this is it. That's it. That's the whole video. I really hope you enjoy it. And I will see you in my next video. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.